So look, here's the thing. Is he running as a populist? Yes, he ran as a populist. Yes, he talked about bringing jobs back, manufacturing back, etc. What's he actually going to do? A $4.5 trillion tax cut for the richest people in the world, for corporate executives. The reason why they're doing all these Doge cuts in a panicked, chaotic way is so they can say, oh, no, it's okay. The Doge cuts will cover the $4.5 trillion.
Cenk Uygur completely destroys Piers Morgan live on his own show. And it's one of the most satisfying things you'll watch all week.
So trillions of dollars in robbery headed in our direction, and who's it going to help? The average American? No, it's going to rob the average American.
Right from the jump, Piers tries to defend MAGA and downplay Trump's legal mess. But Cenk wasn't having it. With the calmest energy in the room, he came in with facts. Real ones.
So I guarantee you the $4.5 trillion is a robbery. That's robbery number one. I'm worried about robbery number two, which is crypto. Crypto guys told me that they didn't like the government. They wanted the government stinking hands off their crypto.
He pointed out exactly how Trump has broken the law, how MAGA isn't about patriotism but power, and how people are being misled by right-wing media spin. And when Piers tries to shout over him or twist his words, Cenk just hit back harder, with logic, not volume. Now let's dive right into the details.
Look, he's a bit of a Trojan horse for corporate rule. So he rolls in as a populist, he opens up the hatch, and then next thing you know, Elon Musk and all the tech bros come out of the horse and go, give us deregulation, fire everyone at the SEC, fire all the inspector generals.
It all started when Cenk Uygur appeared on Piers Morgan uncensored. The discussion quickly turned heated when they began debating topics like Trump's economic plan, his Doge strategy, and manufacturing jobs. Cenk started by pointing out how Trump loves to talk about bringing back American jobs and reviving manufacturing. But in reality, his actions don't quite match the promises. Instead of putting money into working-class communities, Cenk said Trump is pushing for a $4.5 trillion tax cut that mostly benefits the ultra-rich and corporate elites. Cenk didn't hold back, calling it a desperate and chaotic move made to seem like it's helping the economy when it's actually just benefiting the people at the very top.
And then we'll give me a crypto reserve filled with junk. That makes no sense at all. So trillions of dollars in robbery headed in our direction, and who's it going to help? The average American? No, it's going to rob the average American to help corporate executives.
Now, if you've seen Cenk on Piers Morgan's show before, you'd know he doesn't shy away from calling out the nonsense. While Piers often takes a more pro-MAGA or at least Trump-curious stance, Cenk pushes back hard with facts and fiery comebacks. This time it was no different. Piers tried defending Trump's actions by saying Trump surrounds himself with smart people like Elon Musk. He argued that Musk, while maybe odd, is brilliant and that anyone calling him stupid is just missing the point. According to Piers, Musk's unorthodox behavior and his Doge-style budget cuts are a way to shake things up and solve long-standing problems, and that's what makes him effective.
Okay, let's say that's the worst faith interpretation of what's going on. Let me paint the best faith interpretation. It's a three-pronged attack. One, you clear out federal waste. You clear out government waste, which they're doing. Musk says he wants to get $2 trillion.
But Cenk wasn't buying it. He admitted that, yes, cutting government waste is something people have always supported, even mentioning how Al Gore cleaned out a lot of fraud during the Clinton administration. But Cenk said what Trump is doing isn't real reform, it's performative. He's not thoughtfully cutting waste, he's just firing people and slashing programs without a plan just to say he's saving money. Cenk emphasized that the smart place to start cutting would be the $30 billion in oil subsidies. These subsidies go to massive oil corporations that are already making huge profits, and yet they still get help from taxpayers. Cenk called it what it is: robbery.
No, that's always what they say. Supply side economics, my ass. Come on, this is the biggest trick on not only just American people, but people all across the world. That's what they call it the laugher curve, because they laugh their ass off. So the idea is trickle down economics. We give all of the money to the rich, trillions and trillions and trillions. Later, they trickle all over you, and you'll have to thank them for it. No.
This is where the conversation really revealed the difference in worldview between Cenk and Trump supporters. Cenk believes you should stop helping the already rich and instead fix the system for regular people. But MAGA supporters, or at least the ones Piers seems to side with, often think cutting spending and acting tough means you're making progress. Cenk's argument is that Trump and Musk aren't planning anything. They're just throwing ideas at the wall and hoping something sticks. That's not leadership, it's guessing. And when it comes to real people's jobs, healthcare, and education, guessing isn't good enough. Then the topic shifted again, this time to how business logic doesn't always work in politics. Cenk made a strong case here. He explained that while people like Musk might be successful in business, running a government isn't the same. Businesses can shut down and restart, but governments can't just close the fire department or stop fixing roads because it's not profitable. People's lives literally depend on these services. So when Trump tries to run the government like a business, it leads to reckless decisions.
That they didn't like the government. They wanted the government stinking hands off their crypto. All of a sudden, Trump said, they're like, no, buy my crypto. Make the American taxpayers buy my crypto. No, I don't want your crap. You like your crap, you keep your crap, okay? But I don't need average Joe in Nebraska and Jane in Kansas buying your crypto for you, okay, in a reserve. So this is all a giant robbery. But the problem is by the time people find out whether I'm right, you're right, Piers, or you're right, Winston, it's going to be too late.
Even when Piers tried to argue that Trump's trial and error strategy is some kind of plan, Cenk pushed back. Sure, trying something and adjusting it is part of leadership. But Cenk said Trump doesn't adjust based on facts. He changes his story when it stops being popular. That's not leadership, that's PR. Cenk also criticized how these so-called reforms get framed as fighting for the people, when in reality they're just another way to funnel money upward. Piers then brought up Trump's handling of the Ukraine war and even hinted that Trump helped push for peace talks. But Cenk didn't bite. He didn't go deep into foreign policy this time, but his main focus stayed on domestic issues, like economic fairness, subsidies, and jobs. And when the conversation circled back to tariffs, it revealed even more cracks in the MAGA argument. Piers claimed that Trump's tariffs are his way of fighting for America, standing up to countries that rip us off. According to Piers, the tariffs make America look tough, and other countries are backing down.
You know what? I sort of back Trump on the economy. I may not even like him, but I kind of think he knows what he's doing on the economy. When you say he doesn't know what he's doing, I do dispute that. He's got some incredibly smart guys there.
I get what you're saying, and look, I'm fair about the facts. So those 3 years were pretty good. So now you could say, hey, Cenk, that proves the case, but it doesn't prove the case. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, look, that time there was an establishment that was in the White House, and they frustrated him in a lot of ways, but they were the brakes in the car. This is a car without any brakes. So we're now in a Tesla with no brakes at all, almost a driverless car, and it's careening out of control.
Cenk, again, wasn't impressed. He said that Trump's tariffs might sound good in a speech, but they actually hurt the economy. A lot of the trouble in the stock market, for example, has been tied to those tariffs. And while Trump might act like he's standing up for the working class, Cenk argued that the reality is very different. Yes, he talks about the Rust Belt and the forgotten workers, but his policies, like the tax cuts and tariffs, often end up hurting those same communities. The tariffs raise prices for consumers and damage relationships with trade partners. They don't magically bring back steel jobs or fix abandoned factories. And while MAGA folks might cheer the tough talk, Cenk reminded viewers that real progress comes from careful planning, not random decisions made to impress the base.
But everyone knows this is all negotiation going, these tariffs, right? He is negotiating from a very strong position. But he's the president of the United States.
I say 50 and then you say 25 within the same day once the stock market crashes. You look weak. Yeah, of course you do.
It depends what the other side do.
It makes everybody think, oh, he's bluffing. He's bluffing. We just wait him out.
A lot of the time he is bluffing.
Have you ever played poker? When you're playing against a bluffer,
love
it.
I've met New York real estate tycoons, and guess what? The art of the bluff is a real thing.
It is. If you bluff on every hand, you're going to get called, and you're going to lose all your money. Every poker player knows that.
What Cenk did so well in this interview was constantly bring the conversation back to the facts. He didn't get distracted by the flashy stuff, the Musk praise, the strongman image of Trump, or the vague idea that business equals success. Instead, he focused on the outcomes. Are people better off? Are jobs really coming back? Is the middle class getting stronger? According to Cenk, the answer is no. And Trump's version of leadership is more about looking powerful than actually helping people. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.